Welcome to Bullshift the podcast. I'm John DeGuy, the host of the podcast and the author of the book Bullshift. Thanks for joining us. Bullshift is a podcast that talks about personal finance from the perspective of behavioral economics with a specific emphasis on optimism bias and how the financial services industry shifts your attention to make you feel more bullish. For those of you who are new, thank you for joining us. Please like and subscribe. We could really appreciate your support, and we're growing all the time. Thank you for that. And now, on to our guest. Our guest this week is Dennis Moseley-Williams. Dennis is a certified expert in the experience economy. He helps organizations understand that customer experience is the predominant economic offering in the world today. He shows organizations how to create transformative experiences for clients, customers, and employees in presentations that captivate audiences with passion and humor. And I've known Dennis for a while, and he is definitely both passionate and humorous. He's the founder of Dennis Moseley-Williams Strategic Consulting and co-founder of the Serious Shift community for financial advisors. He's also a pioneer member of the World Experience Organization and a contributor in several online experience design courses for financial advisors. He's the author of Serious Shift, How Experience Staging Can Save Your Practice, which is a guidebook on how the experience economy can be adapted specifically to the financial services industry. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us today.
John, I'm delighted to be here. Been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it for a long time too. So I've known Dennis for a long time, and I want to begin by starting off with the fun question, which is about behavioral coaches. A lot of advisors say they're behavioral coaches, and you're an experience coach and a person who helps people understand the experience economy. Could you maybe dovetail those two things and talk about how helping people adjust their behavior might coincide with giving them an experience that will be memorable and something that they would actually want to look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to answer this in two parts. First, what is the experience economy? And then how does this apply to financial planning? So the very simple idea of the experience economy is that experiences and not services are the predominant economic offering today. Service is what a business does. Experience, though, is how a business does it. And the main difference there is that service is predominantly about saving us money, or saving us time, which leads to saving us money. Drive-through windows, checking out your own groceries, etc. Those are all improvements in service. All services are to save people time, whereas experiences are about creating time well spent. Experience isn't something you want to rush, it's something you want to savor. So those are the critical distinction. Think, am I allowed to name specific coffee chains if I love them both?
Sure.
Tim Hortons is a wonderful service. Starbucks is an experience. They both sell coffee. What makes them different is how they use time. Now let's shift to financial planning, experience, and how a positive experience can lead to a better customer experience and more success as an investor. As I'm sure you've seen with your clients, people today look at wealth differently. It's no longer just a great big pile of money and security. It's meaning, it's friendships. In fact, all of these recent investor surveys indicate that most all of us consider time more important than money when it comes to wealth. That we'll take a little less to have a little bit more quality time. Okay, so what's happening is the needs of the clients are changing as they change, and the financial services industry is moving with them to help them. So what they're helping their clients do by understanding how their clients now see wealth and what they want from them their lives. The term we use in the business is ROI, return on investment. The conversation is more and more turning to return on time. People are ruled and owned by their money. It's as you know, and as everyone listening knows, it's an emotional crippling issue for a lot of folks. So what advisors are doing more and more is they're understanding the difference between service and experience. They're working with their clients differently. They're creating time. Think of experience as time that's more personal, meaningful, in that they're pushing beyond the commoditized financial services, more memorable, meaningful, and deeply personal, in fact, transformational, to help clients ride out the process more smoothly, focus on what is truly important to them, and not so that they don't end up at the end of the trail saying, now I have more money than time, more dreams than memories, and more regrets than I do a list of things that I accomplished because I was too busy focusing on, the ups and downs of the market when I should have been focusing on the biggest risk I was taking the whole time, which was wasting all of my time.
Right. So when you think about it that way, and it's a fascinating way of looking at things, and very few people have actually done the head tilt to actually think about, what is the money for, as opposed to it's a means to an end. It's a means to a lifestyle and meeting other goals. When you think of the role of advisors, a lot of advisors will say, "I'm a behavioral coach." Okay. Uh, when I hear advisors say that, my question always goes, so what specifically does that mean? What kind of behavior are you coaching? And I guess what I'm hearing you say is, are you coaching people to think about time and experience being more important than money and a to-do list? What would you recommend advisors do to be better behavioral coaches to help their clients to focus more on experience?
What I'm saying is, when we say, like, what is transformation? What is behavior? So what does it look like? It's this. Nobody has to cry for it to be a transformation. Transformation happens on the inside. You are creating the possibility within the client to reconsider what they believe and how they behave. Ideally, you change the way they think and you change the way they behave. But a win in this case is at least getting them to the point that they can consider it. That's a win. What I would like to see in the business right now, we have some wonderful people that are pioneers, in my opinion, in this subject, working in the financial services industry today, vis-a-vis investor behavior. What I'd like to see is the industry move beyond that, though. So it's like, okay, let's teach people about their brains and how they think and how they confuse facts and with opinions and how their emotions get the betterment of them. It's fascinating. It won't just help them be better investors, it will help them be better humans. Understanding how your brain works is better and applies to all aspects of your life. But what I am saying, and I'd like to see that, even a moment ago when you asked the question about, okay, so it's changed to, we went to the money. And I want to start again by saying wealth is more than that. So what I see the industry doing, and I'd like to think, man, I've been leading this charge, is no, 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 no. When people go to university, just stick with me. When people go to university and they pay tuition, they're not just paying to go to class and hand in papers and get their thoughts graded, the service of university. And in case you think I'm going to, it's about keg parties and all that. Nope, it's not even that. It's something much bigger than that. They are going to become something they are not. I went in a student, I left the master. When you go to a gymnasium, a sports club, gymnasium. When you go to a gymnasium, sorry about that, 1954 just was channeling itself through me. When you go to an athletic club, you buy a membership. What is your membership? Why are you buying that membership? Just stick with me. I swear to goodness, I'm almost there. Weights, mirrors, change room, exercise equipment, perhaps a person you can ask for some advice and some assistance and tips. No. what you are paying for, what you are buying is to become a totally new you. Therefore, this leads me to, okay, so why are advisors, clients, each one of them an individual, buying money from you? I gave you 30,000. I need this to be 100 eventually. Okay, why? Let's stick with the analogy of the gym. If a person said, well, I'm getting older and I want to get stronger, so I stay straighter. Let's pretend it's not about vanity. I'm getting older. It's just not happening automatically. I don't want to get sick and bent over and sore like my dad or my uncle or my example, right? Okay, good. And then you say, I also need a nutritionist. And I also need like a naturopath, and I need a support network to help me stay on this path. The gym would say, you do. Good luck to you. Go and find that. Cobble that together on your own. Make the advisor the gym. Make transformation the outcome of the relationship, not a pile of money. Meet the client where they are. I want better relationships with healthy, wealthy, and wise, John. I need a bunch of money, Dennis. It's going to buy me out of trouble and inconvenience. I need that. I also need to think right. I need to live right. And I see the advisor becoming the advocate in that. Like, good, let's do that.
So while we're at transformation, see what I did there? We're thinking about advisors. Well, let's talk about financial planning. So financial planning is the sort of thing that people often say is an ongoing iterative process. And if it's a process that you revisit from time to time to see how you're doing and how you're doing according to your plan, if I'm understanding you correctly, a lot of that is, so how are we doing in your plan, not to achieve a dollar amount, but to transform you into the person you're becoming? How are we doing in terms of helping you to lose those extra 5 kilos?
Yeah. Yes. And yes. Okay, so here it is. Correct. The most important thing about any person's financial plan, including mine, is this. Well, because I have one? Yeah. I can actually think and talk about things that are important. The other aspects of my life, which I feel require attention. So, yes. Now, let me tell you about something really cool. Here's the problem that we have. How does a financial advisor start to talk to his or her clients or their clients in a way about these things that have not traditionally been in our job description, let's say? At best, we refer to this as the soft stuff, but that's because we're coming from the service economy and the industrial economy before then, where the predominant economic offerings were investments, things, and then services. So investments, how many mutual funds were there 25 years ago? How many are there today? And services, they were the stars of the show. Well, the stars of the show are now sold for as little as possible, and the financial planning services themselves are offered at 1%. Like, oh my goodness, it couldn't get any cheaper. Here we are now, the predominant economic offering has changed. So I'm saying, up until this point, it's been very hard, unless you're a person like me, if I can say that, and you, John, certainly, because we like to think about interesting things like time and what wealth really is and what happiness is and fulfillment. And we wouldn't have trouble on our own imagining how we would frame that and work it into our experience with our clients. But most advisors can't. We can give people a Monte Carlo on their investments, but not necessarily on their life, except we can now, which is, and I'll just name check them here. Check out, in fact, John, you should have these people on your podcast. Speak to the people at Lumient. I found them in Australia. Financial planning platform that allows you, the advisor, a non-awkward way to work with their clients in these other dimensions of wealth outside of the the portfolio itself. Like what other, spirituality, occupation, personal relationships, etc., where they can actually present you, here's your plan, here's your overview on your life based on the things you have talked about, engaged with, rated, dot, 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 dot. Here's your life. And your life score is only X versus your Monte Carlo and your investments, which is 82% that you're going to hit your financial goals. But imagine literally 48% that you're going to hit your life goals. Nobody's been able to show anybody that until now. So that'll be a game changer, I think.
Okay, once we're done, I'll go offline and I'll ask you about those people because I'd love to have people like that on the podcast because it sounds like it's exactly in the wheelhouse of what Bullshift is talking about. Let's see if we can focus in a little bit more on the book Bullshift and how it ties into the great work that you do. My concern in the book is that there is a chance, there is a risk that people might be too optimistic. Now, I'm trying to be as clear as I can. 19 times out of 20, optimism is a good bias. A lot of people their lives are qualitatively better because it's been shown 5 ways till Friday that optimists are happier people. They live longer. They're more fulfilled at work. They're more fulfilled at their marriage. So it dovetails, I think, perfectly with what you're saying. Let's see if we can explore that little crevice of where things might go wrong. Is there a chance that people, in your opinion, that people could be too optimistic and as a result, perhaps be blindsided by things that they didn't really see coming because they were too focused on all these great outcomes that they wanted to achieve in their life? You can say no.
I mean,
I don't know.
sure. I think so. I think that, certain everyone wants to be an optimist. I have a friend of mine who's a consultant. He works in risk analysis, and he has a personal interest and hobby, which is magic. And you'll just all have to trust me. This person has done things in front of me on multiple times that I've only ever seen on television. He's a very talented amateur. He said to me one time that part of magic is and this is related to your work, the part of the success of magic is the audience. And he said to me, Dennis, I'm going to tell you something. Humans don't accept being lied to. Okay? When they hear something that's not true, they will do everything in their power to convince themselves it is true, or they didn't hear it, or they didn't see it. He's explaining to me that this idea of, let's call it rosy colored glasses, is why magic works. Because I can do things right in front of you, you will refuse to see. So, yes, there's a possibility that one could be blindsided in yes. But I think, as it relates to the work that financial advisors do, as like 19 times out of 20, stay in, as it comes right down to, is there ever a good time to sell? Well, for sure. It's never a bad idea to take money off the table. And I think if you're working, and I have to be very, very careful, if you're working with a fantastic financial advisor, they're going to be as you move along through your timeline, there will be defensive postures taken, and on a macro level, more and more of your net worth will be moved into places that you can't be hurt. So, as the rule that I've always followed, and again, I defer to you as an expert, say, hey, you take your age and make that the percentage of your portfolio that you got to stay in conservative stuff. As I out myself, I think, geez, I'm a pretty young man, but that would be 52% of my portfolio. I can't afford to have blowing in the wind of optimism and AI is going to change the world and the next great thing. No. Something that I do have a concern for vis-a-vis optimism, and I can see you've got something to say, is for real estate. And how many people I know, and I'll just tell you this, I'm the only guy on my street that didn't put a designer kitchen on his house in the last bunch of years. There's a lot of people where their whole retirement, I'll put that in parentheses, their notion of financial security for their future is tied up in one giant asset, horribly dangerous, and and they don't even think it. They all believe they're doing the smartest possible thing. That's interesting to me. I would much
Smells
rather
hurting.
remain diversified in the market.
Right.
Sharing. I got people go to work at Microsoft for me every day. I'm very thankful I'm diversified in the market, but I know way too many people who were all diversified at their house. Their whole house is their whole show. Danger.
It's funny because I really have to thank you. I've been talking about optimism bias throughout 2023 because the book Bullshift came out at the beginning of the year, and I've been talking about it nonstop. You are, sir, the first person who has ever shown me that there's a parallel between magic and optimism bias, and how people actually like to be and want to be fooled in some instances. So I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole there. I'm gonna think about that some more. I think there could be in a couple articles there. I realize that those parallels are something that I had never contemplated, and it's very useful. So it's thank you for that.
I'm sure if you'd like, I speak to my friend who told me.
Okay, good.
Fascinating cat.
You've mentioned that people should be less in love with investments and more in love with life, and I think that's a lovely message because really quality of life is one of the great things that you want. And what's the story? People, no one on their deathbed ever said they wanted to spend more time at the office or wish they'd accumulated another 15,000 in assets. They would have rather have spent more time with their grandkids and seen Rome a second time or what have you. I think there's a certain amount of we've talked about FOMO, the fear of missing out. And you've said that a lot of people they say that things should be about time and not money, but what they're missing out on oftentimes is the opportunity cost of the experience. And they could be doing more, but instead they're missing out by hoarding more stuff. And we're all just big kids that hoard more toys.
Do you want to hear something amazing? There's all the studies that'll tell you this.
Right.
Sure.
When you have an experience, 10 years later, that experience means even more to you. Remember when we all went on that holiday together? We tell the story of the campfire, the rainstorm, the whatever. Remember Grandma fell down? It means more to us, matters more to us. It increases in value over time. The opposite happens with stuff. Eventually, that beautiful car you love, that every time you get in, it smells like industrial glue, and you're like, oh, I love a new car. In 90 days, that thing's just another thing with sand on the floor and a coffee cup in the back seat. Stuff. So there's this, I love all this kind of thinking and talking.
Yeah.
As a business owner, it's easy for me to understand this. Money, there are three resources that we all burn: time, energy, and money. But people who own businesses really understand that. Respectfully, people who show up to jobs don't get it the same way. I'm not saying that there isn't somebody listening who can't be offended by that. I do so. I'm sure you do. I'm just saying most of you don't. Okay, so just hear me out. We all know what it feels like to go to the ATM, take $200 out, think you put it in your jeans, and discover when you get to the car you didn't. Oh my God, I lost $200. No, but we trivialize wasting 5 minutes, and we completely overlook the energy invested into an action. So through your life, it's like, listen, get a financial plan. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. Get a financial plan, get a great financial advisor, of course. And I'm not going to touch that. Go get one. And if you're working with the right one, you should be engaging and thinking about what's really important to you, and spend all of your time. The biggest risk you take every day is not the markets. The biggest risk that you take every day is that you're going to waste another 24 hours. I watched this video with this guy the other week told this great story about doing this crazy trip with this other dad until they end up sleeping in a tent in a snowstorm on a mountain. And the guy says to the other dad, "Hey, John, isn't this crazy? There's this many people on the planet, and there's only 4 people on the top of Mount Washington right now in a snowstorm speaking in a tent." The guy goes, "Yeah, yeah." And he says to him, "I mean, how often do you do something like this?" And the guy says, "Oh, every 60 days." And the guy didn't bring him to the mountain. The man telling the story brought this guy to the mountain. He goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah. A little while ago, somebody told me to do something every 60 days that I would never otherwise do." And then he breaks it down in math. "Oh, well, so over 10 years, that's this many adventures. Since I learned that, I've done this many trips like this." Like, you're freaking out because we're in a tent in a snowstorm, and I'm happy for you. Yeah, I'm loving it. I've done like 1,000 trips like this now. That's the biggest risk everybody's listening right now today is taking. It's not whether or not your financial advisor can squeeze another 1% out of the market today, or whether you should have sold yesterday. And I believe in all the old rules. Do you love everything you own? Do you just love owning it? Then own it. Work with the right person. And as you get older, that advisor, and like, what about right now? What about today? Really? This is a pretty hot market, bubbling away. Look, read the tea leaves. It's all right there. And yet, as far as I know, it's a great big party everywhere we're going. But I would say a good advisor is taking one of these shorter things. Like, there's nothing wrong with going a little defensive right now. A little bit more, things are going to get bumpy.
Right. Good. I have to say that I'm coming around to your way of looking at things. My sister and brother-in-law just recently celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary. And in the past, when milestones like this are hit, I would buy people like that a trinket, a thing, a physical object, or something to commemorate it. But nope, I got them tickets to see their favorite comedian when he was passing through town, because that's an experience that they otherwise wouldn't get and otherwise wouldn't do. And too many of the people, I grew up in small town Ontario, too many people are still stuck in this world of acquiring stuff as opposed to living experiences. So I'm coming to your way of thinking, my friend. It's just taken me a bit longer than it ought to have, but it's all good.
Have as little stuff as possible.
Yeah.
36 articles of clothing. Have nothing. I say that, you can be a minimalist and have stuff. I know it sounds crazy. I'm a minimalist. My household has 3 cars and I own a cottage. I just don't have extra stuff.
Right.
None of it. Time, man.
Okay, so let's wrap up here with the 2 things that I always like to end with, and that is the first is that's bullshit. I'd like to know is there anything at all that is in the financial services industry that you think could be done differently? And by differently, I mean better. Is there anything that you'd like to improve upon? What would you point to as being an area where the industry is not doing as good a job as you think it could?
Okay, I have 3 of them.
Okay.
The first is, for God's sakes, if I become a client of your financial institution and you make me fill out paperwork, I should never have to fill it out again unless something changes. I don't have to tell anybody my birthday 10,604 times. The second is what we talked about earlier when I said the industry is moving forward and we're going to meet the clients where they are, and we're going to have a great big meaningful engagement around the idea of what wealth and fulfillment is. That's in process. We could do it a lot better. I saw the industry, I think I saw this in the Schwab survey. It's only about 11% of financial advisors are offering the kind of guidance that I'm recommending here. Okay. And then the third is this. This is my biggest one. I saved it till the end. Got nothing to do with me, I'm happy to say, but it still bugs me. The financial services industry, think about it, everybody listening. The financial services industry is for people with money. Nobody wants to work with somebody who has no money. They don't have any money to pay the advisor. But most people don't have any money. So the financial services industry, these I don't actually know what the hell they're called. Check cashing places, paycheck places. You can go bring your paycheck to them on a Thursday. They'll cash your paycheck ahead of time and take a huge Feed, you know what I'm talking about, those places? Okay. All of the people that go there are the last people on earth that should be borrowing money at high interest. That we allow that to happen is crazy. Secondly, and really interestingly, you know who agrees with me? The clients. You know that they all want counseling. They know they have no money discipline, no money awareness, like simple thing. No, they don't get it. That's why they're at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night cashing a paycheck for a 15% hit on it. They don't even know that that's a lot of money. So something I would like to see is these institutions realize, man, there's a whole market of people out there that we could partner with, and not instead of this group shuns them, this group says we'll take them on and grind them into bankruptcy.
Right. Well, that's a good segue, Dennis. I should tell you that I'm working on a not-for-profit board called the Canadian Financial Planning Foundation, and that's exactly our mandate. We're bringing financial planning to people that are otherwise underserviced, poor communities, BIPOC, racialized communities, people that otherwise wouldn't get access to quality financial planning advice. So I agree, and we're looking at trying to ramp up the deliverables to help people that are otherwise wouldn't be getting good financial advice to get it. So that's great. So we agree.
Great.
I
So
just had a cool idea. Can I share it?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about transformation. So you'd have to do a lot of qualifying of these potential clients on the front end.
Yeah.
But the transformation would be, look, most of our clients, we'd like them to have $500,000. We generate this much revenue off a client with $500,000. So we got to figure out a way to make money off of you when you walked in the door owing 11 grand and you're a mess. So there has to be, you're a mess, yes, but there's enough there we can work with. Educated, employed, got a trade. The institution partners with the client. And after the client is transformed, X number of dollars in the bank, TFSA, RRSP, and perhaps even, boom, mortgage. Now the organization takes their pay. It's later. And, there'd be a condition for as I say, it's not just bringing financial planning to the masses, it's bringing capital to the masses.
And transforming the way things are done.
And doing it. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Okay, so then let's end up with this happy thing. Shift happens. If people start doing this serious shift, and the people actually change the way they live their lives and plan things, what are the benefits of that? Let's end on an optimistic note of how this could all be great.
Okay, granted, I wrote my book for financial advisors, but this is what applies to absolutely everybody. The serious shift is about meaningful change in your life, and of course, initially your business, forever. Meaningful change is lasting change. And you get there by questioning everything you believe and whether or not it's true. Is there a case for optimism? Live by the rules you set. It's a little bit of a kick to the curb in some cases of conventional wisdom and the status quo. The idea is you do more that you love, less that you hate, for people that you admire, and you have more fun along the way. The serious shift is about accepting a couple of real truths. Now, remember, I wrote it for business owners, everybody. That you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with in your life. That 20% of the things that you do bring you 80% of your joy and your success. You ought to focus on those 20% things, do them more often. And those 80% things that you do that accomplish 20% of your life, either delegate them or really sit down and visit with yourself and ask yourself, do you really need to even be doing those things? Or are they harming you? The serious shift will lead to personal liberation and a more authentic and joyous existence.
Great. Thank you, Dennis. It's been a wonderful experience chatting with you. As always, you're a great resource, and I love your perspective. And it's great because talking about optimism I'm this strange person because I talk about the risk of being optimistic, and therefore people will sometimes say, well, does that make you a cynic or a pessimist? And no, I'm an optimist as well. I'm just concerned about people getting a bit overboard. But the great thing about your message is that it's optimistic, but it's purposeful. You can see how optimism can get you to a better place, and it's great for you to be able to show people the way. So thank you.
Right on, man. I love my work and the opportunity to do it. So
thank you so
brings
much.
me a lot of joy.
Take care.
Thanks, man.
John DeGooey is a portfolio manager in Toronto and the author of the book Bullshift: How Optimism Bias Threatens Your Finances. Bullshift is available online and in bookstores everywhere. The opinions expressed in this podcast should not be construed as investment advice. Bullshift, the podcast, is produced by TalkShoe, a division of IOTM.